based on the rock they find them in, they assume that they're millions of years old. Are they really? Well, we have to ask why. And when you ask about the age of a dinosaur bone, one thing you should ask them is always this very question. Ask everybody at a museum, ask at every federal or national park you go to, but ask them this question. When they're telling you that dinosaur bones are 65 million years old or more, ask them if the bones they've got are completely fossilized. Have you ever asked them that before? You should. Because would you be surprised to know that the majority, not all, not 100%, but like 95 to 98% of the dinosaur bones that are found are not fossilized. They are not. And these, quote, bones that are found contain organic bone material inside. And in one case, in Alberta, Canada, in 1977 in Alberta, Canada, they found some dinosaur bones that were encased in iron nodules, which prevented water from soaking into the bone that could begin the fossilization process. And when they cracked it open and got the bones out of these nodules, the dinosaur bone inside these nodules was virtually indistinguishable from modern, present, current, fresh bone material. How could that bone be 65 million years old and still look like fresh bone? Now, I'm going to explain how you get a dinosaur fossil. First of all, when you look at a museum, you're probably not even seeing dinosaur fossils. You're probably seeing a cast of the dinosaur bones. But let's say you got a real dinosaur fossil, and we look at it and say, look at that dinosaur bone. Well, what it really is a piece of rock. Inside bone, there are all kinds of tiny little spaces, little bitty, itty-bitty spaces. The bone is buried in the ground, and groundwater has to come up that's already saturated with dissolved minerals, and it leaches into this bone. And the minerals come out of that saturated water and fill these little spaces in the bone. And the bone itself rots away, and the groundwater carries the material away. But what you're left with is the minerals from the water, from the little pockets inside the bone, forming an exact replica of the bone. So the bone's gone. All you've got is an exact stone replica based on whatever minerals were common in the water there, an exact stone replica of the dinosaur bone. So it's not really a dinosaur bone, it's dinosaur stone is what it is. But it is an exact replica, a very exact replica of the original bone material. Now, over 65 million years, what's the likelihood that that bone will survive unfossilized for us to find and discover and to research? Very slim and none. Now, this is another article out of Creation magazine. If you don't get Creation ex nihilo, you need to, because that's where this article came from, talking about how dinosaur bones are virtually never found completely fossilized and how that's impossible over 65 million years. And this is a sensational report about a T-Rex that was found in 1990 in Montana, was taken to Montana State University, which is Dinosaur Jack Horner's little niche there, to his lab. So he and his students were examining this thing, and lo and behold, they cut this thing open, and what did they find in it? The picture in the lower left. They found red blood cells in that T-Rex bone. The interior of the bone was not fossilized, and they found hemoglobin as well, which is the substance the blood cells flow in. They found hemoglobin and red blood cells, and right there's a picture of them. What's the shelf life of that kind of material? A little bit longer than that. The stuff I'd read on this, the biologists claim that the shelf life on bone material and blood material as well is probably not more than about 10,000 years before it's just going to follow the laws of thermodynamics, and the vibrations of the atoms and cells are just going to shake it apart into nothing. So you should not find anything like this at all in anything that's 65 million years old. It would be just contrary to the laws of thermodynamics. It just couldn't happen. So when we find dinosaur bones that are not fossilized, and we find blood cells and hemoglobin inside those dinosaur fossils, what does that tell you about the age of the bone? They're pretty young, aren't they? Definitely less than 10,000 years old, according to what the evolutionist biologists have said. I didn't read creationist biologists on that. I read evolutionist biologists on that. 10,000 years at the most. So we got fresh bones. So did these things die in some kind of whatever happened to them 65 million years ago? Extremely unlikely. Extremely unlikely. And I'm going to tell you the secret of Dinosaur National Monument. And when you go out there, you ask, if the paleontologist is there and they're still out there working on things, you ask them this question, see what they say. and ask the rangers, because they don't know what to say. But the bones at Dinosaur National Monument are only 40 to 60% permineralized. There's still bone material inside those bones. Supposedly bones that were buried 65 million years ago or more. That's the secret of Dinosaur National Monument. But now that you know it, you still have to come on a safari with us so you can see those bones and we can talk about them more being there. And some other really cool sites out there. Okay, so how old are dinosaur bones? Pretty young. They're not that old. In the last few thousand years anyway, which tells us dinosaurs lived not too long ago. And what's the evidence? Now let's get to our second question here. Let's get to our second question. Did dinosaurs and man live together? I don't know that for sure. And I'm not sure I'm ever going to see one. But I know that man has seen dinosaurs. Man supposedly evolved 3 million years ago. So 65 million years ago to 3 million years is a big gap. By an evolutionist standard, man couldn't have seen dinosaurs. But there's interesting evidence to the contrary. One of them is Mokele Membe. Everybody's heard about this guy, right? No? Oh, okay. Mokele Membe is a creature that is believed to exist in a very deep part of the Congo, where man has a very difficult time getting to. I first heard Jack Morris talking about this, and I've got an article here from Science magazine, which is an evolutionist publication, talking about Mokele Membe being sighted by natives in this deep part of the Congo that is near Lake Tili, near Zaire. And some expeditions have tried to find this guy, but have largely been unsuccessful. But Science publishes an article about sightings of a creature where if you take a book of creatures to the natives and ask them to identify what this Mokele Membe is, show them rhinoceros, show them cows, show them horses, show them giraffes, show them anything that they're familiar with in the area, and then stick in a picture of that's kind of fuzzy, of an apatosaurus or a sauropod type creature. Stick one of these pictures in there. That's what they point to as being Mokele Membe. Smaller, not 25 tons and 60 feet. But that's what they point to as being Mokele Membe. And creationist groups have tried to find it and have been largely unsuccessful, so I'm not quite sure what to make of it. But the interesting thing is that there might be, in a very hot environment, which is interesting for what kind of creatures dinosaurs might have been, being the interior of the Congo, there could be a sauropod type creature still living today.
Is this a real picture?
No. This is also an article from Creation Ex Nihilo, and that is not a real picture. I should have said that to begin with. Thanks. So, could a land-based dinosaur still exist? Well, I don't know, but it's interesting to think about.
What you're saying is this is the maka. It's not an actual creature.
Yeah, that's a computer-generated picture to go with the article to illustrate a sauropod-type creature of the size that they think is out there, which is part of the reason they have a problem finding it, apparently, is it's not 60 feet long. If it was, it'd probably leave more of an obvious trail. They're looking for a smaller sauropod-sized creature like this.
There's skeletal remains of this creature.
Not that I know of, not that I've read anywhere. Which to me makes